So Godzilla King of the Monsters is finally here. I'll be heading into this movie tomorrow night with a few thoughts in mind, maybe pre-assumptions, maybe expectations, and maybe some influence from what critics have already said about it. These are just some of the thoughts that are weighing on my mind as I go to judge this movie. What do we want from a Godzilla film? Is it non-stop action at the cost of a good plot? Or do we want a coherent story that makes others see Godzilla the same way us fans already see him? Do we want a story that's worth investing in? As Gareth Edwards once said, Godzilla is many different things to many different people. Or something like that. The average kid and moviegoer just wants action to be entertained by. But fans like me want something that's an emotional investment. But is it too much to ask for a plot and action? Now I understand that this is a sci-fi film, so it's not just the giant monsters that I have to suspend my disbelief of, but it's also the circumstances surrounding them too. And so I can accept the impossible, but if we have a character who ends up like most of the characters in Dwayne Johnson's Rampage, where these characters in real life would struggle to get by on a daily basis with their lack of logic, their choice making is so poor that you can't even relate to the characters. That those characters would need luck on their side constantly just to get by on a daily basis.
I thought you were dead.
Well, I think she missed all the vital organs, but don't jinx it. Now let's get that antidote. Come on.
The critics' reviews that are out there already have began to slander the film. It's very mixed. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, the scores, as of recording this, around 56%. And I haven't really read the reviews in depth, but a lot of people are calling it ridiculous. And if it's the idea that people are having monsters fight other monsters, that the military realizes that jets and tanks and ships don't affect Godzilla, and that manipulating Godzilla to fight King Ghidorah or Rodan or whoever, if they call that ridiculous, then either those critics haven't seen enough Godzilla films, they don't understand Godzilla's history. It would be ridiculous, in my opinion, to continue attacking with army and ships. But if what the critics are really saying is that the plot doesn't make sense, the exposition is poorly thought out, the dialogue is childish, I won't hesitate to call this film out over that. Basically, I'm going into this film with two different perspectives. There's a part of me that loves everything to do with Godzilla. The part of me that goes in there and says there's no way that this film is going to disappoint me because it's Godzilla. But then there's also the contradicting side, the side of me that's such a huge fan that my expectations probably won't be met. And hopefully they can balance each other out and come up with a reasonable review, at least reasonable enough to earn your trust. I'm also looking for the tone and the vision of the film. Legendary definitely took a lot of the criticisms of Godzilla 2014 to heart, so I'm excited to see how true they stay to Gareth Edwards' vision, and also at the same time how far away they push themselves from that. How much action did they add just to bring in the audience? And it's not necessarily a bad thing too, because Kong Skull Island was already so drastically different in tone from Godzilla 2014. And I was okay with Kong Skull Island. Sure, there was a few really underdeveloped characters, some of the actors were really wooden, but Godzilla 2014 was a slow burner, and Kong Skull Island was a roller coaster ride. I'm okay with either of those, just as long as it's not as crazy as Rampage plot-wise.
There's no tail on this helicopter.
That's right. We don't need one.
Will you do if you want to fly?
We're not going to fly. We're going to crash. We just need to get enough lift to stay on top of the building as it falls.
Finally, I'm looking for the themes and the faithfulness that they kept towards the characters. TOHO has changed the origin to these characters so many times. Not specifically these characters, but Godzilla and friends. I'm okay with the origins changing or certain representations, but as long as they're still symbolic, or they have purpose, or you can sense that they are judgment coming to us, I'm okay with that. What I don't want is, trying to avoid spoilers here, based on marketing, one of the main kaiju have already been confirmed to have like a power-up mode, an upgrade. That's okay. But if there's no consequences to that monster becoming stronger, then it's just an ex machina. It's just as well an episode of Dragon Ball Z where anytime a challenge comes, the character just powers up. There's no end to it. If King Ghidorah or Godzilla or whoever the monster is powers up and there's no consequences following that action, it's not a door that can't be closed, then I'm going to be disappointed. I want the representations of these monsters to still reflect, no matter what their origin is. I want to be able to say, does this film capture the spirit of a TOHO film? Which you could argue that we still have not made a TOHO Godzilla here in America. Godzilla 2014 was definitely the closest, but I want to be able to walk out and say, not only was this a TOHO Godzilla film, but was it a good TOHO film or was it a bad TOHO film? And while I'm speaking of these other TOHO films, I want to announce that I will be doing a review of all the Godzilla movies, all the live action ones, including the spin-offs such as Rodan, Mothra, etc. All of them leading up to March 2020 Godzilla vs. King Kong remake. So stay tuned on this channel. I plan on having some fun doing that. I'm not going to just be speaking out my opinion. I'm going to try to crack some jokes and have some fun. So keep posted on that, and I'll see you tomorrow, Munsties.